reference dedicated to Marxism. Furthermore, his work has been a research subject of our very own Dr. Franz Cortez. Dr. Cortez concisely summed up our keynote speaker's philosophy of education, and as such, I quote Dr. Cortez. He talks about the non-neutrality of education, the dialogical character of a liberating education, and the critic of Philippine educational system, among others. He sets the tone of his work by asking the question, for whom and for what is education? End of quote. Let us all welcome our first keynote speaker for his presentation, and let us all welcome him home, as this is also a homecoming. Professor Amable Tuibeo.
To everyone, my greetings. For the record, I want to state that this is the first time I was invited to attend the reunion of Thomasian Philosophers. I am, of course, an alumnus of UST, and at one time a professor of philosophy at the Faculty of Arts and Letters. But for reasons of ideology, I was exiled from this pontifical institution. While I am an alumnus, I must confess, I am blessed of a Thomasian spirit. And I want to be frank with that. But what makes my attendance here memorable and even beyond forgetting is the fact that I was given the privilege to be one of the keynote speakers for this convention. I wish therefore to thank the organizers of the 5th Thomasian Philosophers Reunion Convention for the invitation and for the privilege. In Tagalog, maraming salamat. Thank you also, Elaine, for introducing me. Elaine was one of my brightest students in Marxism, and I hope she has maintained that outlook despite the hour of UST. You know, when I was coming to UST, I used to remember when I was in the graduate school. Actually, we were so active at that time because our professor was a very challenging professor, Dr. Emerita Tito. She was the one, to my mind, who introduced existentialism for the first time to the country, and also radical theologies. I have imbibed whatever she told at the time, and I was almost a Kitian follower. But then when we went together at De La Salle, she turned to be a mystic, and there we parted ways. I went to the world, she went to heaven. And this is just to dramatize the fact that I am a materialist in outlook rather than an idealist in outlook. So my paper will be along that line of thinking. The invitation sent to me by your erudite chairman of the philosophy department was that I should talk about education along the beautiful theme, education for truth in a secular age. To my mind, this is a very timely and even significant theme, considering the fact that at this age of globalization, education is becoming so vocationalized and technologized to the point that the social sciences in particular philosophy, are discarded as unproductive sciences. What we have are computer-related subjects, the natural and physical sciences, which do not promote much critical thinking, but only good producers of commodities under the global imperialist scheme. The influx of neoliberalism to the country by its policy of deregulation, liberalization, and privatization has impinged much of the content of our education. What I shudder to think, my friends, is the day when we can produce not only men and women who do not have any national affirmations, no ethical responsibility, and no social commitment, but people who can work according to the dictates of the global imperialist. I hope that they will not come, and I hope UST, as the bastion of Catholicism, will always make its voice loud and clear that we cannot allow such education to deteriorate into pure technologism. I know for a fact that UST has a good college of education, and from what I hear this morning, I think the dean is a good leader for the college. Well, since this is a gathering of philosophers, I have prepared, much to my regret and apology to the invitation, that I focus my discourse on the question as to what we as philosophers can contribute to the struggle of mankind to repair the broken family of man. To my mind, it is time for the philosophers to go out of the group or to come down from the ivory tower so that their voice to be heard loud and clear on issues affecting the solidarity of the peoples of the world. That's why, instead of talking about education, I told the erudite chairman of the philosophy department that my paper would be titled, "What Philosophy Should Be in Our World Today." This paper is divided into 4 sections, short sections. One is a description of the struggle of mankind. Second, description of our world today. And third, we look at the Philippine reality. And fourth, what philosophy should be in face of these realities. And lastly, what Thomasian philosophers can do. I shall begin with a postulate that the history of mankind on this planet has always been the struggle for survival and development. In fact, it is in the pursuit of these ends that mankind, through the years, had learned to develop economic system, form political organizations, and create a variety of cultural institutions. Through these devices, mankind had cherished the hope that the whole humanity will once again live as comrades, friends and brothers. In other words, what I want to say is that mankind has always been dreaming that the family of man would have a shared world in a shared life. But what has happened? Well known to historians is the fact that human beings once lived as comrades, friends and brothers because they had a shared life in a common world. Theirs was the primordial philosophy that no one should be so rich as to enslave and exploit another, also poor as to be slave and to be oppressed in order to survive. So equitably shared was the fruit of their joint labor, that human beings were neither masters nor slaves, neither feudal lords or serfs, neither capitalist or proletariat, but men and women who lived and worked together on the basis of justice and freedom, of solidarity and peace. On the other hand, it is also a historical record that when human beings no longer had a shared life, because some started to have more and others to have less or none in terms of wealth and property, let alone of power and privileges, the world of mankind was split into different social classes, the property class and the propertyless class, or the class of the rich and the class of the poor. With the rich getting richer and more powerful, and the poor poorer and more powerless, the world of mankind became an arena of social contradiction, class struggle, and war. Since then, the history of mankind has become, in the words of the Communist Manifesto, I hope you do not tremble at the specter of communism here. The history of society is the history of class struggle. The transition of the human world from a classless to a class society due to a relation of production which defines the owners and non-owners of the means of production has not, however, completely derailed the struggle of mankind, quote, to build a just and a humane society. As a matter of fact, the dream and the hope of mankind of a world where there would be no exploitation and oppression of man by man continued to linger in the memory of the race and frequently romanticized in the words of great thinkers. The lost Atlantis of Plato, the utopia of Thomas More, the new Atlantis of Francis Bacon, the seat of the sun of Tommaso Campanella, the socialism of Robert Owen, the classless society or communism of Karl Marx, and even the New Jerusalem of St. John's Apocalypse. All these are attempts to revive, albeit in different forms and styles, the memory of what shall I think it is confirming my thesis here that from time to time we have to be shaken in order to understand the Thomasian and the ends of life according to the existentialist. But at any rate, I was just saying that even the New Jerusalem of Satan Apocalypse, that is the last book of the New Testament, all these are attempts of mankind to retrieve the memory that once upon a time people lived in complete brotherhood because they have an equitable sharing of the resources for survival in the world. And this has always been my obsession, that as a humble philosopher, I would want to contribute to this struggle, not for any self or for egoistic interest, but that my voice could be heard at least in some way by those who long for the restoration of our humanity. As I was saying, it was Jean-Jacques Rousseau who called that age as the golden age of mankind. Or what John Milton, the English poet, has immortalized as our paradise lost. Or what even our national hero in his last farewell bemoaned as our nuestro perdido. Whether these literary works were meant to be a rebuke or an indictment of class societies or not is a matter of sociological imagination. But surely they remind us that in times past, the early ancestors of mankind lived in unity and harmony, in brotherhood and peace, because they had an equitable share in the social surplus in material wealth of their society. Now let me look at the world today. The world today, however modernized it may be, in terms of global trade and commerce, of sophisticated communication and transportation systems, of scientific progress and technological inventions, not to mention the high standard of living, is a highly stratified cosmopolitan city in terms of economic impact in material wealth. To quote a part of the editorial of the Philippine Daily Inquirer, March 12, 2013. Quote, income inequality is actually a global problem. Using different estimated models, a review of income distribution in 141 countries by Isabel Ortiz and Matthew Tomas for UNICEF in April 2011 found a world that the top 20% of the population enjoy 70% of the total income of the world, contrasted to 2 paltry percentage points of those in the bottom 20% and 22.7%. The richest 20% of the population of the world gets 83% of the global income, while the poorest have to be consigned below and below the poverty line. Overall, this extreme inequality in the distribution of the world's income should make us question the current economic development model under capitalism, which has accrued mostly to the wealthiest billionaire. This extreme inequality in the distribution of the world's resources and incomes has polarized mankind into two antagonistic classes: the extremely rich and the powerful, and the extremely poor and the powerless. Mankind is so divided today that there is no longer any common universe of discourse. What has become common, but which has proven to be a bane and a disaster to the unity of the human family, is, to quote the well-known Catholic philosopher Jacques Maritain, quote, "The preservation of anyone's freedom to enjoy private ownership, acquire wealth, and seek his own pleasure." Unquote. The doctrine that every man must be on his own in the name of enlightened self-interest has resulted in making the world into a battleground of individualistic and reckless competition, where, in the words of Niccolo Machiavelli, might is right, and end always justifies means. The egoistic struggle for more private ownership and for one's own pleasure has become so relentless and rapacious that in the process, justice and morality are set aside for expediency. The spirit of greed seems to have so demonized the people under capitalism that they have forgotten to be just and humane, to be compassionate in caring for those who have been economically deprived and socially marginalized. Blinded by greed for more wealth and lust for more power, the extremely rich and powerful can no longer see in the extremely poor and the powerless of society, quote, the image of a brother, a friend, or at least a comrade, with whom they are bound by the same fate, by the same joys and sorrows, and by a common aspiration and interest. Words from Magi. Excuse me for your audience. It is no wonder that the Jewish philosopher Martin Buber has a point when he wrote to say that the relation of man to man under materialistic capitalism in godless socialism is no longer I thought, but I did. In fact, what is man under capitalism but a commodity whose value, according to Eric Sprung, quote, depends on the ethical judgment of the market. And what is man under totalitarian socialism? Quote, but a cog in the vast machinery of the state. Unquote. Given the debasement, the degradation, and the dehumanization of man under monopoly capitalism and totalitarian socialism, what appears to be an urgency if we are to restore the dignity, the humanity and solidarity of the family of man, or of mankind in general, is the creation of a new world order where man would be the alpha and omega of all economic and cultural development. It is my contention that since both monopoly capitalism and Soviet socialism, despite their posturings to the contrary, have failed to lead mankind to a just to a free, to a humane and a caring world order, they must be rejected, so that in their absence mankind may realize his dream to create a new world order where all people, regardless of race, gender and creed, can flourish on the basis of justice and freedom, of equality and peace. The French philosopher Leon Blum once wrote in us this tantalizing question, quote, "The human race has the wisdom to create science and art. Why should it not have the capacity to create a world of justice, brotherliness, and peace? The human race has produced Plato, Homer, Shakespeare, Hobo, Michelangelo, Beethoven, Pascal, and Newton. All these human heroes whose genius is the only contact with the fundamental truth of the inner essences of the universe. Why should the same race not produce those leaders capable of leading it to the spoils of communal life, which are closest to the lives and harmony of the universe?" Unquote. The question to my mind is not difficult to answer. For as mentioned earlier, what has destroyed, quote, the equality, the fraternity, and the liberty of the people is the maldistribution of the resources for physical survival and spiritual development in class societies. It is an illusion to expect people with contradictory material condition of life, one is poor, the other is rich, to live in harmony. In fact, if ours is, according to Gabriel Marcel, a broken world, it is because there is so much concentration of wealth in property, of power and privileges in the hands of the few, to the deprivation and marginalization of the majority of the people in our class society. Incidentally, it was no less than Christ who, aware as he was of the shattered solidarity of peoples and nations, commanded his followers not only to save their souls and not to spend so much time in idle religiosity, but also, quote, to renew the face of the earth, so as to abolish the process of economic and social inequalities which pervade our world. In the same breath, Karl Marx insisted, quote, that philosophers must not only interpret the world in various ways, but the point is to change it, so that we, the whole of mankind, may have a new earth and a new world, based on justice, brotherliness, and peace. What Christ and Marx tried to show was that the resources of the earth belong to everybody but to nobody, so that to allow the few mankind to control and to monopolize them for their own investment is definitely a crime against mankind itself. Hence, there is wisdom in the proposal of James Mill, the English philosopher, quote, that the raw materials of the globe be made accessible to all and not only to the few, unquote. Or to the insistence of Karl Marx, quote, that the surplus of social production should be socially appropriated, unquote. Or in the prayer of the National Council of Churches of the Philippines, NCCP, that the fruit of economic growth should be equitably shared, so that no one may be left behind in the struggle for a more abundant life. In a milder tone, Pope Francis, through the pastoral exhortation, otherwise known as the joy of the gospel, is battling for economic democracy so that the so-called excluded, the outcast, the leftovers of society, they have the resources for growth and development like any other human beings. On this, the proposal of James Smith, the insistence of Karl Marx, the prayer of the Council of Churches, and the standpoint of Pope Francis are urgent calls for the reorganization of the human society on the basis of justice and freedom, of equality and peace. Without this much needed reorganization, mankind will always remain a broken family. Now let us look at the country today. Our country is a replica of the broken world of mankind, given the fact that not all of our countrymen are benefited by the nation's resources. Studies had shown that only the upper classes, namely the 1% super rich and the 9% middle class, have all the material and spiritual means for a satisfying and significant life, while their lower classes, namely the 15% working class and the 75% peasant group, have less or nothing for enjoying a decent and dignified existence in our society. The concentration of so much wealth and property in the hands of the few, at a time when about 30 million of the more than 105 million Filipinos are living below the poverty line, shows how distorted and unjust is the distribution of the social surplus in material wealth of Philippine society. To quote again a part of the editorial of the Philippine Daily Inquirer, March 12, 2013. Government data show that about 20 million people, or a quarter of the population, live on a $1 a day, or less in 2009, which was little change a little earlier. To be poor in the Philippines, continuously editorial, meant earning less than 16,800 a year, or 1,400 a month, or 47 pesos a day, which covers 26.5% of nearly 100 million Filipinos. Granted, the quality of this observation, it follows that 26.5% of the 100 million Filipinos are living in extreme poverty. On the other hand, quote, the earning of the richest 40 families in the Philippines had increased to $13 billion in 1 year from 2011. Their earning was more than the $11 billion social earnings in 2011 for business process outsourcing companies and their more than 600,000 employees. The combined wealth of the Filipino billion families in 2011 alone is $28.2 billion. If the foregoing is an indication, it is that ours is an economic system which, quote, allows the most income inequality in Asia. This extreme inequality in the distribution of the country's material resources, income inequality, has polarized the nation into social classes. One class, the extremely rich, is standing for the preservation of the status quo to protect their vested interests. Another class, the extremely poor, opting to overthrow the status quo in order to erase the causes of their deprivation, And still another did not support a natural rate for social reform. With these classes, whose political agenda are at cross purposes, our country will never have a lasting peace. Extreme wealth of the oligarchs and extreme poverty of the destitute are antithetical to each other, and their contradiction cannot be resolved unless the economic base of our society is radical change. Frankly, I do not have a name for an alternative mode of production beyond capitalism and socialism, but it is one which reflects the dream of mankind to create a world where all people can have, to quote the late Senator Jose Johnson, food in freedom, job in justice, land and liberty. These are the elements which can serve as a precondition for patching up the broken world of the Filipino. What philosophy should be in our world today? Given the broken character of our world today and that of the Philippine society, philosophy needs to be ready, not as a mere academic discipline which has nothing to do with man's struggle or survival in development, but as a vital weapon for restoring the solidarity of the human without prejudice to its conventional definition. I consider philosophy as the embodiment of mankind's dream for a better world, where all people can meet their needs for physical survival, where they can have the freedom to fulfill their dreams, and where they can live as comrades, as friends and brothers to one another. That philosophy was defined by Pythagoras, 6th century BC, as love of wisdom, rather than as love of wealth and fame, is but to remind us that philosophical wisdom is not only for self-emancipation as claimed by Immanuel Kant, but also for creating a world where all human beings can grow and develop their potentialities on the basis of justice and freedom, of equality and peace. To be responsive to mankind's struggle for a better world, I propose that, number one, philosophy should provide a vision of an ideal world order, where, to quote a writer, the free development of one should be a condition for the free development of all. Hence, it demands that there should be a socialization of wealth and property and a democratization of political power and social privileges. With socialization and democratization, every member of society can have economic, political, and social mobility towards a more abundant life. Second, philosophy should be a critique of structures, institutions, and practices which legitimize the concentration of so much wealth, power, and privileges in the hands of the few, to the deprivation, destitution, and marginalization of the majority of the people. Unless we have a radical change of our decadent institutions which legalized the inevitable distribution of the country's resources, the world of mankind will always remain stratified into the very rich and the very poor. The extreme wealth of the few and the extreme poverty of the majority have always been the causes of social contradiction, class struggle, and bloody revolution in the history of mankind. Third, philosophy should not be a mere contemplation of reality, or a mere interpretation of the world, but a vital weapon for changing the world through a peaceful means, and it needs to be through a violent revolution. It must not be forgotten that even the Gadyawan or the Gadala had sanctioned the use of violence to liberate the respective believers from all forms of human servitude and oppression. Fourth, philosophy should be a way of life, so that to be a philosopher is not to be a mere spectator in the social arena, but to be an active participant in the overall war against economic injustice, social discrimination, and against all forms of man's inhumanity to man. Or as the papal encyclical Quadragesimo Anno has put it, for philosophy to be responsive to the aspiration of mankind for a better world, it must be against, quote, the causes of social inequalities, fight discrimination, free man from all forms of servitude, so as to enable him to be the instrument of his own material betterment, of his moral progress, and his spiritual growth and growth. In particular, for philosophy to be responsive to the problem of the Philippine society, it must embody the ideals and aspiration of the sovereign Filipino people to build a just and a humane society, and to establish a government that for social justice, so that, to repeat what Senator Joko has said earlier, every Filipino may have food and freedom, job and justice, land and liberty. Short of embodying the people's agenda, as highlighted in the preamble of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, our philosophy as a people, as a nation, will always remain ambivalent, let alone individualistic, devoid of a national purpose in direction. Our task as Thomasian philosophers. Thomasian philosophers that we are have a mission similar to that of the great Galilean, who conquered 2/3 of the world population, not by using weapons of mass destruction, but by using a down-to-earth pedagogy, namely, to make the blind see, to make the lame walk, and to set the captives free. It would be a great scandal if philosophers who claim to be Thomasian in orientation cannot do this thing, or what the Galilean had done. In fact, as professors of philosophy or practitioners of the state, we can also make the blind see by way of enlightening those who are still groping in the dark on the need to reconstruct a world on an egalitarian premises, so as to rest, let alone to redress, the deepening and widening inequalities among people in terms of economic, political, and cultural opportunities. Second, we can also make the lame walk by way of encouraging the weak to be brave, and those who have fallen in despair to rise again, so they could be counted in the struggle for the socialization of wealth and property, and for the democratization of political power and social privileges. With socialization and democratization, everybody can have economic and political mobility. And lastly, we can also make the captives free by telling the victims of economic exploitation, of social oppression, and of cultural idiotisation that their freedom from these evils is found not by participating in bourgeois election, not by simply praying to God, or reciting the 9 Ave Marias according to Voltaire, not by voluntarism, but by militant struggle against those who keep them in bondage or in jail, exploited the oppressed and the marginalized of the world must understand that the condition in which they are imprisoned are man-made, therefore they are not secret and inviolable. They can be abrogated on the condition that they continue to struggle and dare to win. Thomasian philosophers that we are, let us unite. We have nothing to lose but our dogmatic slaughter. We have the world to conquer. Thank you.
Okay.
Once again, thank you very much, Professor Amable. A round of applause, please, for our first keynote speaker, Professor Amable Tuibeo. We're going to allot a few minutes for an open forum. Please come forward, state your name, your institution, and your question, please. Students? Sir, please. Thank you. Your name, please, sir, and the institution that you are representing.
Good morning, I'm Chris Mulaga from PUP. I'm very indebted to Professor Amable Tuibeo for the very existence in the philosophy department of PUP. Courageously started that department, and proud to be one of their own now. Maybe it's not a question, but I'll rejoinder to what he said about who are we as philosophers, and what do we do. In fact, in Book 6 of Plato's Republic, according to Plato, the great majority who, if you're familiar with the parable of the Newton's crew called ship, Plato would liken the philosopher to that navigator in the ship, where he's always being misunderstood by the crew because they don't exactly know what the craft of navigation is all about. It has to do with astronomy and geometry as well. That's the reason why we have to be, as philosophers, we have to be very articulate, as what is suggested by Professor Tuibeo, about other matters like economics, for example. And if I would like to share about my own understanding of what happened in the Philippine economy in the 1980s and onwards, about the IMF, it turned into an institution of usurious money lending. We're quite aware of it now. Import liberalization, for instance, where those foreigners would impose themselves on us and take control of the entire Philippine economy, and the local markets died. What the yung Aquino administration did. Deregulation, devaluation of the peso. These are actually very basic things. And as philosophers, we are tasked to do all these science, maybe layers and layers of understanding of these different discourses. Because as navigators, we also need to talk about astronomy and physics and other things. So the interconnection, that's the reason why we are a university, because we need to understand the interconnection between these crafts. As philosophers, we are tasked to do that as well. From my experience as a teacher in the university, I get branded as somebody who, all of a sudden, I talk about what, from the Hebrew context, what does this mean? Because I said, the term Mashiach is not really Christian, but Hebrew. And my students would label me as, what's that got to do with logic? Logic is our class. It has a lot to do with logic. Because you need to understand the context from which this term was taken. For example, you understand the difference between chaba and angelos in Greek. I mean, like, you have to seek into these layers of understanding. Allow me just to express my all my love for philosophy in line with Professor Tuibeo. So let's not be also, as what the others are saying, and the professors are saying, let's not be, as David Santi would say, let's not be enslaved by sights and sounds alone. Try to navigate through it all, this complexity of knowledge. So thank you, sir, for that wonderful piece. Again, for everything, for philosophy and for justice.
Thank you very much, sir. Would you like to react, Professor Amable?
Yes, actually, I would want to have condition as to accept what is given. How can you be a revolutionary if you accept the thesis and the postulates of that kind of education that is controlled by the elites? You have to counter that. Now, in order to counter that, you have to empathize with the oppressed and exploited society so that you know their anguish. Otherwise, if you ride on the present educational system, you feel uneasy in espousing the cause of the poor because you have been conditioned to think in the manner dictated by the ruling classes through the culture, the media, education, and even religion are the conduits of the ruling classes' interest. Beware of that. I hope as educators, you are analytical and critical about that.
Thank you, sir. One last question, please. Yes, sir. Your name, please, sir, and the institution that you are representing.
Good morning, sir. Teka sa Gandoy, galing Benguet State University po. While I was listening to your piece a while ago, una-muna po, I'm very happy to be one of the audience right now. Tumatak sa isipan ko yung sabi niyong mga pilosopo, it's high time for you to come down from your ivory towers and be grounded. I'm also reminded of William Henry Scott. I think he's a Thomasian.
Yeah.
William Henry Scott, who is famous also in Sagada, in Car in general, where I come from. Though he is not labeled as a philosopher, but I was thinking of how he did his work as an historian, because some say he doesn't even like to be called an anthropologist. My point here, sir, is ganun mo ba yung idea ninyo din? Do you think that is a good idea for someone who is an intellectual but lives with the people, eats with the people? Lengguwahe niya, lengguwahe ng tao. Ganun po ba ang isang paraan para ang isang pilosopo na nanggaling sa napakataas na ivory tower dapat naglalakad din sa ground? Iyon po yung gusto kong tanong sa inyo, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. You know, Henry Scott wrote about Philippine anthropology. I used to converse with him when I was with the graduate school here. He was more of a Filipino than a foreigner. I think he understood more the temper in conduct of the people in the provinces rather than the historians that are influenced by the American education. Now, when I say that philosophy must be grounded on facts or on objective reality, this is actually a departure from the old philosophizing that has bedeviled the minds of many people. Right? When I was with UST, I met that kind of trouble. I don't know whether I will tell you this story, my sad story in UST. But I held on to my opinion despite the inquisitorial investigation that I underwent. I was then teaching cosmology, and some of the students were nuns. And I tried to bring their attention to the works of Galileo and Copernicus, who wrote a book on De Revolutionibus Orbium. Although it was dedicated to the Pope to avoid inquisitorial investigation, it was the most radical rewriting of the heavens by using heliocentrism as against the Ptolemaic theory. I think you know that. Now, I was reported to the office that I was no longer toying with the idea that the earth was at the center, because the effect would be like this, and I hope you will agree or disagree with me. If the earth was found to be at the center according to Ptolemaic theory, then it is very important, and man must have a special place in the creation of God. But if you rewrite the heaven and put the earth as a whirling planet, a small planet around the sun, that earth loses its dignity as the center of attention, and man is reduced to but a speck in the universe. Therefore, his importance is diminished. Now, that is a simple scientific finding of the Galilean formula. So even when Galileo was dragged to the prison, he was shouting, "It moves! It moves!" What was moving? The earth is no longer stationary. And he was condemned, imprisoned for a lifetime until he died. But thanks, the church has awakened. The church was mistaken. Let us admit that. Okay? Science is based on objective reality. If philosophy has objective reality, it can flourish and be credible to many people. But if it is pure speculation, no matter how grandiose and highfalutin is the language, if tested in reality, it will not work. That's why the theory of knowledge in Marxism is simple as this. Knowledge is valid only if it can be translated into praxis. Praxis means, number one, it must reflect objective reality. Number two, it must be productive. Number three, it must be revolutionary. That meaning we cannot accept.
Thank you very much, Professor Amable Tuibeo. Again, please a round of applause for our keynote speaker.